Lebanon has made it to the Architecture Biennale of Venice, and we can't be any prouder.
The Land Remembers is the Lebanese Pavilion at the 19th International Exhibition of La Biennale di Venezia. It's a fictional ministry, the Ministry of Land Intelligence.
The curator's invitation arrived during a time of rupture. We had fled to the mountains seeking shelter from the relentless Israeli bombing of Beirut. I was fascinated by the beautiful title, The Land Remembers, and the theme that focuses on ecocide, a term that encapsulates the systematic destruction of the environment, resonated with the terrain of devastation we ourselves were witnessing. Amid the atrocities of the war, an invitation to imagine, create, and reflect, a demand not just for a design, but for an articulation of memory, loss, and survival.
To create the bricks, to have the different materiality for the bricks, we actually built them ourselves in Milan, which was really interesting because we could experiment with the different textures and the different colors of them. Another which was really interesting was the embroidery that you have in the pavilion. The embroidery was made by Ahmed Amer, by a very old traditional way of doing embroideries as artisans. We also have all the fabrics and everything that was also made in Lebanon, but also in Italy. And what was interesting is this idea of working with other people to create the pavilion itself.
The team at the collective has taken a role beyond just curating the pavilion. We have produced the pavilion ourselves, we've edited the book, we've done some PR, and we've organized all the events in Venice, amongst other things.
Even though we're the curator, but we're also the builders, other than fundraising, we're also workers. And we've been managing sound and lighting also. It's been a real challenge, but as architects, it's also part of our experience to be this interdisciplinarity. And it's interesting for us because at the end of the day, it's our baby, it's our little pavilion. And it's not only about being here to supervise everything, but it's also being on hand doing things. First of all, thank you all for being here. It's a bit intimidating.
As part of the pavilion, we have publication that we have done with the help of 15 contributors that have all given time and effort to contribute in the publication. We had quite some difficulties with the publication, to start with the fact that we wanted everything to be done locally in Lebanon.
The book not as a neat design or polished concept, but as a response, a need to hold on to what was being erased. The box became a container for fragments, testimonies, images, maps, textures, sketches. Each piece inside is a form of testimony, so personal, others collective. Together, they form a visual installation of our memory.
The reason why the pavilion is set up in the shape of a table, which looks like a cross, is because it's dividing the space into four departments for this ministry. Two of the departments on this end of the room are concerned with the documentation of ecocide, and the other two departments on the other side of the room are mainly concerned with strategies to heal the land.
Our second department is called the Department of Counter Mapping, and its role is really to counter the narrative that has been going on with cartographies. It is extremely important for us to display those maps that show the relationship between the attacks and the environment, to show that the environment has been used as a tool of war and as a political tool in what is happening in South Lebanon today.
So the third department of the fictional ministry is actually the Department of Endemic Species. We have documented 108 endemic species only to Lebanon, and we got to Venice 43 of them. What we noticed with Juzur Lebanon, the first instinct that we got is let's get these seeds and replant them in South Lebanon, because two of these seeds were endangered in South Lebanon. But actually what you should do is actually take a sample of the soil, and inside the soil you already have the seeds that are already embedded in the soil. So all you have to do is to wait, and the seeds will go back. So it goes back to the title of the land, remembers this idea of the soil holds all the memory and the DNA inside.
So the last department is the Department of Strategic Healing. We worked with a few scientists to discuss different methods of healing the land. What we chose to study is the more natural way, discussing bioremediation, working with natural materials such as mushroom spores, bacteria, and plants to heal the land. Because before architecture, there's always land.
The pavilion portrays that really resilience is the strongest form of physicality, not only in forms or materials, but in the collective will to come together to be able to restore, regenerate, and build together a better future and a safer environment.
I hope that in the future, other Lebanese architects will be interested and keen to produce a Lebanese pavilion, because Venice is such an important place where the conversation around architecture is taken on a global stage. And Lebanon has and will always have something to say and should always have a place in Venice.